Imagine this. You're a student, cramming for exams, rushing between lectures, thinking about what life might look like in 20 years. Now fast forward, and boom, you're the dean of the very college you once studied at. Sounds wild, right? Well, that's exactly what happened with our guest. He is not only the dean of our college, but also one of the coolest person on campus. Witty, sharp, and hands down the most approachable person you'll ever meet. Well, stick around because we are going to dive into the life, the passion, and vision of DY Patil Medical College's very own dean, Dr. Rajiv Rao. From his days as a student to becoming the backbone of this institution, this is one of the conversations you won't want to miss. This is Dr. Tanya Gowda, and you're watching this podcast on my channel, DoctorSaab.
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 How are you, sir?
Fine, couldn't be better actually.
How
So
has
nice,
your day been today?
It's been like a normal sort of busy day. You start the day thinking you have to do so many things, and then at the end of the day, you realize you're still standing there itself. It's like any other day.
Good to see you after a very long time, sir.
Yes, the same feeling is mutual.
Okay, so thank you for getting ready to do this podcast with me.
It's an honor and privilege. My first.
My first as well. Okay, so I would start with the first question of how was your childhood like?
I think it's a good question, but probably I'm the wrong person to answer it. If you ask me, I'm going to say I was very good boy. Yeah. But I'm sure my parents will have a completely different story. But yeah, I wasn't the typical studious, bookish person. I always knew I had to be forced to study to a certain extent. Typically, what you see in movies where there's a book within a book, and we've done all of that. And I was a tinkerer. So something doesn't work at home, I'm really the first person to open it, change it, remove it.
Like a
and-
handyman.
Yeah, and then at the end of it, you have two screws in your hand and you don't know. "Ab ye kahan dalega na?" But the whole thing worked. So that was my childhood. Good. We had a set of sports, we had a set of studies, and we enjoyed. Yeah, it was good.
So you had any siblings? Or?
I have a younger sister. Tormented her. Still do.
But do you have any experiences in your childhood which ended up being very pivotal in your career?
If you ask me, I still do think like an engineer.
Okay.
You need to use that same thinking in medicine also. It's very logic-based thinking that is essential to be a good clinician. But at engineering, that's the core. You need to have that very logical listening. And I used to do, like I said, I was a tinkerer. I used to question, I used to find out, why is this like this? Why is it like that? I mean, my first earning in my life was, there was an old age home where I used to visit, and their generator had spoiled. And I kind of repaired it for them.
Really?
And the trustee gave me 50 rupees. That was my first earning in life.
Oh my god.
Okay, and that was when I must have been in 7th or 8th standard. That this thing. I was also the sort of OT boy.
Okay.
So whenever there's an operation happening in our hospital, I was on standby. If the light goes, I'm supposed to start the generator. OT table upar lena hai. So call Rajiv, he's going to do that.
Okay.
So I was that kind of person. So I never thought I'd actually get into medicine, but it's most families, your grandmother comes in and she gives you the whole sob story. Tumhara father is a doctor, mother is a doctor, they've opened a hospital, kaun chalayega? And you think, yeah, why not? Yeah, I mean, and then you have that whole this thing of saying, if you're an engineer, you're going to be working for someone, and if you're a doctor, you're working for yourself. It's very idealistic. Now you practically understand, boss, it's better to be working for someone else than to work for yourself. But in those days, that was independence.
True.
And so you kind of got pulled towards medicine. In fact, in my 8th, 9th and 10th, in our school, we had something called as technical subjects.
Okay.
So I kind of studied to be an electrician kind of thing. So I can still replace a switch, understand circuits, know what's a phase, what's a neutral. So even when I discuss this with my electricians, they're like, sir, you understand what's an ICDP, ICTP? I said, yeah, I know all that. So that was the background. And very interesting, we had engineering drawing in those 3 years also. So I've studied the basics of isometrics, orthography, all of that in school, yeah. And it was very it was fun because when I joined DY as a medical student, in those days there was RAIT and there was medical. We were in the same building, so we shared the same canteen.
No.
And these guys would be sitting in the canteen fretting over ED. And I used to go there and tell them, "Ye aisa karo, this take this like this 30 degrees and this thing." And they were like, "You are studying medicine?" I said, "Yes." And they used to freak out on that. It was very interesting.
You must have impressed so many people.
Oh, it was crazy. And even in 11th, I actually started with, I took just physics, chemistry, maths. There was no biology. So I never planned to be a doctor.
Okay.
And then the whole sob story started, and then dad, mom, or grandmom all said, "Why are you giving up that opportunity?" So then I shifted to PCMB. So you had maths and biology. And then slowly interest moved towards, okay, why not do biology kind of thing. Otherwise, as a child, I kind of looked at myself as, I envisioned myself to be either a computer engineer or an automobile engineer. I love cars, so I was very passionate about that. So I don't know, destiny takes you very different ways, it's fate has set out a journey for you and you end up being where you are.
That is really true. Very true. So, from you said that you took PCMB in 11th. After that, did you give both entrances in engineering as well as medicine, or you just then focused on medicine?
Started. Okay, in those days we really didn't have entrance exams for getting into medicine or engineering.
Okay.
It was based on your PCB, PCM marks itself, which was, life was simpler at that time. But if you want to do IIT or you had to go to AIMS or you wanted JIPMER, so we had so many entrance exams for those kind of things. So I started off asking for, we had something called Brilliant in those days. I don't remember, Brilliant or something like that. And you could do correspondence for IIT coaching and all that. So all the books came, paid for it, this thing. I don't think I got beyond the first or second chapter. I gave up on that. It's not my cup of tea. Physics was bad. Crazy. But loved maths. Biology was good. Chemistry was interesting. But physics was crazy. So I kind of gave up on that. But yeah, you did end up giving a lot of entrance exams for all of these so-called desirable institutes kind of this thing. So St. John's had its own
they had
entrance
their own
exam.
entrance.
Yes. And they were all these institutes of eminence started by the government. So AIMS, you had your own entrance. AFMC, you had your own entrance. MGM Wardha had their own entrance. It was very interesting because you had to write an essay on Mahatma Gandhi and his life and all that. It was very unappealing because you had to go and stay. I mean, the stories, I don't know what's true or this thing. You had to go and stay like Mahatma Gandhi. So it was never appealing. But माँ बाप ने बोला ये भी entrance दे दो, भीड़ बकरी जैसा हमने तो entrance दे दी. Purposely you never do well in it because you never want to go there. But that's a different thing. So all those we've given. But in the end, it was your PCB marks that decided, where you get in MBBS, and that's how it was. So those entrance exams weren't there.
So after you gave your entrance, you got DY Patil as your college.
Yes, I missed getting into JJ by 1 mark. And that was the first year that we had something called as payment seat and merit seat. And the merit seats in private colleges were the same, the fees structure was the same as in the government college.
Okay.
And 50% of the seat were paid seats, where you kind of have to pay more kind of premium for all of that kind of thing. So I was getting into MGM and I was getting into DY. Both were unknown entities. I'm talking of 1993. College started 89, so this was 4 years old. Nobody had any idea. Even the first batch of students had not come out. So there was no history. No one you could speak to. It was all the same. So we knew a family friend who knew the then dean of DY Patil, Dr. Abraham. Very, very knowledgeable and very nice person. Very strict, but very nice. But the girls' hostel then were also quarters for faculty. So he used to stay there. So I remember coming there, meeting him at home and having a discussion. He was like very confident, very this thing. The same way today, if anyone comes and asks me, which college do you want to should my child get admission in? You take DY, no questions asked.
Hmm.
So he was the same way, persuasive, logical, very this thing. And so we ended up choosing coming to DY. And it was like next door. I stay in Belapur and coming to Nehru.
Born and brought up here only.
Not born, but been in New Bombay and Belapur, CBD Belapur since 1982.
Okay.
So this is home.
So you were born in Mangalore?
I was born in Kasturba Medical College Hospital,
At
the
Manipal.
Manipal Hospital, yes.
So that's your hometown,
Yes.
Manipal,
Udupi.
Udupi. Okay. All right. So from Udupi to Bombay, it's been a
Yes, Udupi to parents, once they got married, they had moved to a place called Raichur, that is in the border of Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh.
Hmm.
So the first 10 years of my life, I was there.
Okay.
Well, not 10 years, 6 years or 7 years. And then grandfather and all were in Bombay. So grandfather's health deteriorated. So we had to move back, pack everything and come back to Bombay. And then from Bombay, we shifted to New Bombay and restarted.
But then at that time, New Bombay was.
Oh, it was
even-
nothing. I
Yeah.
remember the first year that we were here when we migrated from Karnataka. Dad and mom were staying in New Bombay,
Hmm.
and I had got admission into a school in Mumbai, that is the King George School in IES, Hindu
Oh.
Colony. And we were staying in Shivaji Park. So dad actually used to take the effort to take the bus at that point of time. There was no BST and all that. There was something called BMTC and very, I'm talking very 82. The poor man used to come by bus at 5 in the morning from New Bombay to Bombay, take my studies for 2.5 hours and then leave at around 7:38 and go back every day for 1 year. So, and then 83 we shifted. I mean, I took admission in Father Agnell's in Vashi and we shifted over here, the whole thing. But for that 1 year, that man, it's crazy.
Even my parents, so basically we're from Borivali now. We all shifted from Borivali to Navi Mumbai just for my education. They have put a lot of efforts, you know.
Oh, the kind of sacrifices parents make,
Exactly.
it's huge. When parents started practice in New Bombay, like you said, there was nothing in CBD. There were just 2 sectors. And we used to live in a chawl and we used to practice in the same chawl. So in the day clinic, night home. Luck by chance, if there's a delivery happening, then we are sleeping on the road. For 6 to 8 months of my life, we've done that too. And then we found another place and could move the patients there. So you got home. Otherwise, it was a chawl. So you had just one hall, one bedroom and a kitchen. In the day, the hall was the consulting room and the bedroom was also the place where they used to look at the patient. So the consulting used to be in the waiting and consulting used to be common. And if you want to examine a patient or anything, that used to be in the bedroom.
Oh.
The first 6 to 8 months. And then if a delivery happens, it happens in our bedroom.
Oh my God, I've heard this for the first time. A house getting converted to a nursing home.
But there was nothing else. It was the start of their career. And the kind of commitment they had at that point of time was
commendable.
You grew up seeing that. I think it influences you, the hard work, the dedication. People used to set their clocks to my dad's. I mean, they know, you see dad, 8 baj gaya. You've seen him in the evening, it's 4 o'clock. He's leaving from there, means 6 o'clock. They used to set their clocks to it. He was so regular, so punctual, so diligent. You kind of, you learn from that, you get inspired by that.
You think that is the biggest inspiration that is...
Yes, the hard work, the tenacity, the honesty, the ethics, that's all come from them. I've never seen them do one wrong thing, go beyond looking at a patient as a patient, going out of their way for patients. That hard work and this thing, it's still, he's 82 years, he's still working mad. I tell him, relax, it's okay. But no, he's still working. They run an old age home where they're taking care of old people who can't be managed at home. It's not a regular old age home. And there are 110 such people. They're managing on a daily basis. 82, 75, and they're going strong.
That's what keeps them alive.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. And probably that's what keeps me alive. That work, you have to keep working.
So, after you got into medical school, Can you please take us through the journey of your student years?
I think we were very focused on our studies at that point of time in a very different way. I mean, we didn't have access to many things. Coming from medical family, your dad kind of said on the first day, this is Grey's Anatomy, you have to read it. Oh, this is Grey's Anatomy, you have to read it. And then this is Cunningham, these are 3 volumes of Cunningham, all your dissection, you have to do it. So yeah, first day, first show, you're reaching with Cunningham, and nobody else has a Cunningham. But that's how it was, and that's how you started. And then you got introduced to Chaurasia, but you ended up reading Grey's. I think we competed with each other. We had these kind of mini competitions where people used to read a particular chapter and then challenge you and say, tell me where this word is. And you used to answer back and say page 62, para 3, line 4. We were at that level, and we're not talking of books like Marrow or Notes and things. We used to read Guyton, Gray, those kind of books, and very regularly. Okay, very regularly we used to read those books. We used to kind of live in the library. We used to enjoy. ऐसा नहीं कि continuously sit and read. We gym भी जाते, खेलते भी हैं, कूद-काद भी करते हैं, सब करते हैं. But our reading was a very different level. I mean, for pathology, I remember I read Robbins. Harshmohan was very, very new at that time. We kind of looked at it with disdain. But 2 editions of Robbins, and Grandfather and Father. And there was a book called Rubin and Faber. So inflammation was beautifully given in that. So I read Rubin and Faber only for inflammation. Then my teachers swore on Boyd, which was at that point of time out of print, but we had 1 copy. So I read through Boyd for general pathology.
Okay.
Very beautifully given. So the number of books that you read for one subject was astounding. Come to think of it today, I wonder how we did it. But we had nothing else. The first year we had my guru in physiology were 2 people. One was Dr. Dabolkar. Unfortunately, he's no more. But a lot of the older generation will remember him. In fact, when I came for admission to college, he was the vice dean.
Okay.
Dean was Dr. Abram, and he wasn't there at that point of time. So I ended up meeting him. So dad, I'm sitting here, dad here and mom here. And this guy, he's across the table, we're talking to him, and he looks at my father and he says, Jairaj, batch of 64. And my dad was, and he says the college, KMC Mangalore. And my dad was flabbergasted, and he says, how do you know? He said, I taught you. So that man, Dr. Dabolkar, had taught my dad in 1964 physiology, and he remembered him after so many years. I'm meeting him in 1993.
Oh.
After 30 years, that man could identify my father by name. He probably knew his roll number also. And when we reached college on the first day, I kid you not, we were supposed to sit by roll number. So you had this roll number on the back, and you have to sit. I was roll number 74. So you're sitting on 74. So all he did was look, number seen, you're absent. So on first day, first show, he could tell your name, your roll number, how you look, where you come from. He had the whole thing by heart. Man was genius. He used to teach us. I still have his notes, 6 registers full of his notes. He used to teach us and he used to dictate and teach at a pace at which you could write. So you're busy writing. And the end of it, you read those notes and you know, physiology is bliss. I mean, as I say. Second guru in physiology was Vivek, Dr. Vivek. I mean, he had just come in as a tutor, just MBBS, and very raw, very fresh, very enthusiastic, very eager to teach. And I was kind of his first batch student. And he used to give me homework. So he'll give me one phrase. Say it's a Troiser. And I'm supposed to go back and find out everything about Troiser or any synonym like that. So you had Troiser's note, Troiser's sign, Trousseau's sign. All of that you had to do, and I had a special register which had these alphabetical listings. So on A. So all the things that I knew from A used to be written in that. It kind of became like my medical dictionary. So he used to give me that kind of homework. So it used to inspire me. Used to search for those things. Used to go back, read. So I ended up reading so much more. Second year pathology, we had Dr. Banerjee. That man was again just like Dabholkar sir. You know, Dabholkar sir also very simple man, very this thing, nothing. This man probably used to come in just an apron, probably no shirt also under that. But such a simple man, such a gentleman, and such so devoted to pathology and so devoted to teaching. So he developed esophageal cancer, and he could not speak well, but he never gave up teaching. So he used to have a class in his room, and there are 4 of us sitting. He'll dictate everything to us 4, and we have to share that entire notes with
The
everybody.
rest of the class.
हाँ. I mean, I still visualize that man. बेटो पढ़ाई करने का Bengali person. Such a gentleman, such a sweetheart, so passionate about teaching. Then in microbiology we had Murthy madam, very strict, very this thing, but again very good teacher. Pharmac we had Dadkar, we were terrorized by her. But when it comes to fun and games, the day there's a festival, she'll come, mujhe gana hai, she used to sing, she used to play table tennis, all of that. So anatomy we had Mehta madam, again doyen. Those days, of course, she was also quite junior, but all of us were like a family taking care of each other. They're saying, and in those days we didn't have our hospital, so college was here in that old building where Vijay sir sits.
Okay.
So that was our college, and on the ground floor where Vijay sir's office is there, that entire area was the physiology department, and on the other side was the pharmac. Above physiology was biochemistry, and on that side you had microbiology. Second floor was anatomy on this side, and on that side was anatomy, and on that side we had first floor was microbiology. Second floor we had PSM. Okay, and on the right last corner where the registrar's office is there now, so other second floor pe we had the library. Okay, the library is here, and the toilet was near the anatomy department, and you had to cross the dissection hall in the night to reach the toilet.
Oh my god.
We never went alone.
Did you not play pranks like with your friends?
Oh, we did all of that. You know that person's going, especially when the girls go. So you're going from behind and making noises, switching off tube lights. Oh, we do.
So for you, college is not this building.
No, it isn't really that building.
It is that
nostalgia is there. I mean, you go there and you see that the third floor of this thing was pathology, and you had that. The opposite of FMT. That was the entire college, this thing. And then second year, for hospital, we used to go to Kurla Baba. So in the morning, you reach Kurla Baba on your own. So there was a train journey. And then there were buses to bring you back to college.
Achha, so the hospital
was in Kurla Baba for the second year. First and second terms, the whole of second year. And then third year entirely was in Rajawadi. We never came to college. So we were completely in Rajawadi. And then again we had doyens teaching us. Doyens. Medicine, we had Ujjwala Dalvi madam.
Okay.
Brilliant teacher. She used to act out the disease. She used to act out. Oh man, I can still see her walking across with that wobbly gait, making her face like a leonine faces, shaking like this, and you know it's Parkinson's. And she'll come to you like this, like this, like this, and you know it's myocardial infarction. So those were our kind of teachers. We had Samsi sir for surgery. And again, those years of wisdom that drooled out of their mouth, whether they liked it or not. He was teaching us one day about cancer and all that, and he said, do you know, again this is I'm talking 96, 97. He said, what's the difference between cancer 10 years back and cancer now in terms of medicine? And we were all like, sir, we diagnosis aisa ho gaya, now we have CT scan, X-ray, this, that, all of that. He said no. from a patient's perspective, patient had cancer. He had it for 9 years. It used to get diagnosed in the 10th year and he died. Now, you diagnose it in the first year, you treat it for 9 years, so he's kind of suffering for 9 years and he dies. And that hit home. You never forgot it. It's so much, it taught you empathy, to teach from it, to learn to look at the disease from a patient's perspective. How do you decrease pain for a patient? It made you realize about the quality of life that a patient wants, needs. It's not always about the treatment, it's always about how you live the remainder of your life. So all these things came to us from them without them ever saying so. So we had this madman in our second year in surgery called Chandrasekhar. I call him mad, but in a very nice way, because of him, we finished reading our surgery das in 30 days of second year postings.
The clinical book.
Clinical surgery, the entire this thing. You finish reading it completely because of that man. You gave on your first day you finish these 10 pages, second day you finish these 10 pages, third day you finish these. So that entire thing was set. And when you go the next day, questions are definitely going to come. He is going to hammer you till you not finish reading. So by the time you finished your second year, you've done das. You know, ulcer matlab these 13 points malum hona hai, thyroid swelling matlab ye 8 point malum hona hai. So it was so brilliant. Again, we used to go in the OT. Nandita Palshetkar madam used to teach us obstetrics and gynecology, and my God, what a brilliant teacher! What a brilliant teacher! We were sitting in the class and she's saying, every patient should have TLC. And she asked, what is TLC? And I said, ma'am, total leukocyte count. Tender, loving care. And you meet her even today, that ethos is still there. You see the way she treats a patient, the way she talks to a patient, that just the care that comes out, that compassion for that patient, care for the patient, it is unimaginable. And they all made learning fun, you know. So you were in the OT ho gaya, Kurla station ke paas, there was this place called Santosh. Samosas absolutely famous. So Nandita madam will jao sabke liye samosa. So whether we learnt anything in the surgery or no, samosa acha tha. So it made learning so much fun. Every day there was a small topic given. You kind of. So that was, I think, third year we had brilliant surgeons like Kale sir and Shenoy. Shenoy sir used to teach us at that time. And even in those days, he was so busy. He was so busy. I remember he was the first person who had an Opel Astra car. At that time, one of the first foreign
Opel
cars,
car.
yes, to come in. It's long gone. It's a GM brand, now gone, all done. So there was an Opel Astra, then there was an Opel Corsa, and all of that, this thing. These doyens of private practice also, who were like honoraries in Rajawadi. There was this concept of honoraries.
Okay.
And they were so busy even at that time, but they were so brilliant teachers. They just wanted to teach. So we had some Kale sir and we had Dr. Shenoy. And even in those days, he was so busy. He used to go to, I think, Leelavati and a couple of more hospitals. He was one of the first people who had an Opel Astra. I still remember, it was a blue color. One of the first foreign cars to come into India, and Opel Astra and doctor having it. It was a big thing at that time because it had power windows and you had that remote locking, unlocking inbuilt. So it was a huge thing for us. We used to go and admire the car. Sir, show us this, show us that kind of thing. And he was so busy. So he really didn't have time in the day for us. But we used to have midnight lectures. He used to come at night 11 o'clock and he used to teach us the whole night. There was one coffee fellow who used to just be outside the classroom. You could walk out, have a coffee and come back in, and he's teaching you the whole night. He's teaching you cases, he's teaching you instruments, he's got his x-rays out, and he's teaching you procedures. The whole night he's teaching you. The class used to finish at 5 in the morning. He was so dedicated. And you know, now when you introspect or you kind of think back, you have to, means the vision of people like Dada, DY Patil, to get these people on board. to have them to teach us, to influence us in this way, you needed someone like DY Patil to have that vision. Because in hindsight, he didn't need to have these people on board, right? You could have just had plain teachers. That kind of thing which chalta tha. But that's the thing with DY. There's never a chalta hai thing at all. You go the whole hog. You get the best things, get the best teachers, you give the best opportunities, and you saw it from that time. I mean, there's hardly a day when I don't thank, in my mind at least, Dada and today Vijay sir for having that vision, to have those teachers, to have give us those clinical exposure, to give us those kind of this thing, because it shaped us to who we are today. Even in our internship, the camaraderie that we had with our residents. Kurla Baba, we used to manage the entire labor room. I've got hit on the knuckles by my sister in charge. Episiotomy kara le itna hi. But tuck tuck, and then she's taught me. So today, even as a pathologist, you ask me to do an episiotomy, I'm guaranteeing you I'll do it. Guarantee.
That's the amount of exposure that
Oh
you
yes. Oh yes. We were workhorses. Our internship was crazy. The first catheterization I did, female patient, to be taken for LSCS, confidently, can you do? I said, I can do. My registrar, I did. Reached the OT, registrar had the wisdom to look, there's no urine in the bag, and she realized I'm in the vagina, not in the this thing. But that's the first time. So now you know you're never going to make that mistake. After that, never. Always got urine in the bag. Always. But you did all that. You did surgical cut downs. We assisted. I was first assist for tubectomies, LSCS. We had one gynecologist in Kurla, Dr. Nitin Rao. And vaginal hysterectomies were the worst to assist for us. Because you're always stooped in and you know your back kind of gives up. And he realized that I was avoiding assisting for those surgeries. So he called me, you're not coming for this? I said, no sir, I made some. You don't like to assist, do you? I said, no sir, aisa kuch nahi. You come and assist me. I will give you a way. After you tell me whether it was stressful or not. And the position he gave me, the way he, made me assist, no back pain, no nothing. And so beautiful surgery. So beautiful. The first time I realized what a vaginal hysterectomy was. Again, ortho, we had Khedekar sir, we had Ashit Rao sir, we had Samant sir. They were terrors. But we thank them for being terrors. We thank them for the discipline that they actually brought in us. Because whatever it was, we were mortified, petrified, whatever, but they made us do it. They made us. They realized that if they don't do it, we will falter. So even in that anger, in that dissing, there was a love for us. It was tough love. But whatever it was, we took it, we embraced it, and we learned. And I think the whole atmosphere or the whole environment was so conducive to learning. And the thing was that we were in Bombay University at that time. So my first year theory exam I have given in JJ.
Okay.
Second year theory exam I have given in Sion. Third year again I went to JJ. First year or so, I think even our practicals were in some other colleges. So it's always a challenge. You're proving yourself. We were today DY Patil बहुत अच्छा नाम है, legacy है. But in those days, we were always fighting to prove us. Private college का बच्चा है. So we had to go that extra mile, and everybody went out of there to facilitate this learning. That was special. Whether it was teaching, non-teaching. I mean, there was the librarian who's just retired, Mr. Jadhav. So the first year when I had to go to JJ, now there was a big problem because we referred so many books. And now exam dene JJ ja rahe, books kahan? That man gave me 21 books from the library. He issued me 21 books. I took to JJ. I stayed in JJ in one of my friends' hostel tha wahan, apna hostel mein. I stayed over there. But I went with 21 books over there, stayed there and studied. So everybody went out of their way to ensure that, that we could learn. We were new, college was new, but whether it was, at that time Dada was very active. So he used to be, They used to go, the deans, everybody, the whole system was such ki boss, तुमको करना है, तुमको क्या करना है करते रहो, we'll help that way. So it was very interesting days, but we learned a lot, and that kind of shaped us, that kind of made us ready for life. I think those 4.5 years were very, very formative. And then when we were the unlucky batch everywhere, so when we came out, the government decided that you're not going to get a PG seat unless you do 1 year of rural postings.
Oh.
So we had to work 1 year as a medical officer in a rural setting, you know. So we friends, we were 5-6 of us who wanted to kind of be together, and we realized that if we all want to be in the same area, we had to take Nagpur district.
Acha.
So each one picked a area as they went in, kind of this thing. And we were a batch of 7 or 8 of us who were all in Nagpur. And I was in a place called Mopa, which was around 32 kilometers out of Nagpur.
Okay.
It was crazy. It was crazy. For the first 2 months, I didn't have a place to stay. So we've left home. We've come with a suitcase. We have this thing. Now I'm supposed to be posted in this place called Mopa. So I reach there. And the quarters, there's one doctor who's staying there. So he's working there, staying there. The other quarters, the doctor's gone to another place, but he's not vacated.
Okay.
So now I go back and complain to the civil surgeon. I said, I don't have quarters. He said, it's none of my business. Wahan quarters hai, tum khali karao aur tum raho. And I say, okay. So now I find out who this guy is. And I now reach his house in Nagpur.
Okay.
And I kind of park myself at his doorstep on a daily basis because he's not coming home directly. His wife says, I don't know where he is. And you imagine, Tanya, my baggage is in Mopa. I am parked in Nagpur. I have no place to stay, so we are staying at some 8 rupees per day in government guest house jaisa hai.
Okay.
So we are over there. All I have, that guy gives me a towel. So every night I come back, I wash that t-shirt, I wash my undergarments, put it for drying, I sleep in my towel. Next day morning, I am again wearing the same thing and going back for almost a month.
Why?
Because every day it was, I'll get the key today. Every day it is, I'll get the key today. And I'm just waiting. So we've seen those days. And then finally I corner him. I kind of give him an ultimatum. And then he comes. Then he says, I'll come over the weekend. So I said, Pakka tum aoga, ye, all that. Now I go back. I still don't have a place to stay. So now I'm staying in the primary health center. So in the day, I am seeing patients over there.
And then you sleep there only.
And then I sleep there also. I'm using the same toilet that the patients use. And that was for a week or so. And finally this guy turns up. I'm like, I sastang namaskar karunga. Thank you so much. And he puts all his things in one room, and then I get one hall room. I get only a hall room. The bedroom is occupied by his things, and I have a hall room and a kitchen. That's what I get. So I'm thankful for that, and that's how we've had. But we learned so much again over there. And because we were all together, 6-7 of us, weekend mein we used to meet up and cooking hota tha, chal tu ye banate hai, wo banate hai.
In that quarter.
Yeah, every weekend somebody will come to somebody's place. In the sense there's 6 of us. So 1 week they'll all come to my place.
Okay.
1 week I'll go to somebody else's place.
But you were alone in the rural health center, like?
I had one BMS medical officer.
Other than that, you had no one?
I had 28 villages to take care of.
Villages? Villagers?
Villages.
Villages?
Oh yes. So I had to take out OPD, 100-150 ka OPD nikalta tha roj. I used to go to the PHC, to all of these centers, each village, find out. We used to run all these national health programs, whether it was vaccination, whether it was the pulse polio, whether it was the malaria ready, तो वो गप्पी माशे वाशे सब डालना, ये सब किया हमने, सब किया. Conducting deliveries in the PHC. So we had this small room, जिसमें just one labor table is there, and you had place to just stand beyond, so you could conduct the delivery. And then you had this channel where somebody could stand. And there was this tungsten ka bulb.
Okay.
I don't know whether you even know that such bulbs existed in this thing. and below that there was a fan. So the light was continuously cut, and you are conducting deliveries there. And you, Bombay ka ladka aaya, hero, he knows everything and everything. So the first primary, ठीक है, primary आई, चलो we'll do it and all that. So, and that senior nurse was there, Sheikh Bhai tho, उसको नाम है Sheikh Bhai. And she said, करेंगे delivery? I said, हाँ करेंगे delivery. And then I asked for episiotomy. मैं episiotomy करना है. She's like, वो क्या होता है? So I said, चैंची दो, ये दो, वो दो. And like a big shot, now I give local anesthesia. Okay, for the episiotomy. And now I start cutting. Crowning horror, I can see the head coming, and I'm cutting and cutting and cutting, and that damn scissor won't cut. There is no dhar on that damn scissor.
Oh my god. Then how did you do it?
As per a scalpel.
You worked with such equipments.
Oh, it was crazy. It was crazy. There was one time, this lady comes and she's sleeping, and this Sheikh Bhai comes to me and says, बहुत पेट बहुत बड़ा लग रहा है, and मुझे लगता है 2 बच्चे हैं. I said नहीं, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है. And anyway, she says, FHS यहाँ भी लग रहा है, FHS यहाँ भी लग रहा है. So finally it came to a point where she had one stethoscope, I took my stethoscope. She's put over here, I can get an FHS. I put over here, I get FHS. We keep it over here, we're just exchanging the thing, and we're still getting FHS. So now we confirm कि twins है. So I go out and tell the father, देखो इधर होगा नहीं, ये नागपुर ले जाओ. He says, क्यों? He said, I told him, twins है. हाँ, माहिती है मतलब, हाँ सोनोग्राफी करा है, हमको मालूम है. तो अरे तू बताएगा कौन? बताएगा कौन? And now he says, I'm not going anywhere. So I conducted a twins delivery over there.
In the PHC?
In the PHC.
All by yourself
All
and
by
the
myself.
nurse?
Yes. And we did it. We did it.
Normal delivery?
Normal delivery, twins.
Oh my god.
I had another lady. She came just with some discharge card from GMC Nagpur. And it said previous LSCS.
Okay.
And no reason given. So I don't know whether it's bad obstetric history, whether, and she was a short lady, so whether the pelvis was just a CPD tha, or whether there was some kind of fetal distress. I have no idea. And I'm telling her, you please go to Nagpur and get operated. नहीं मेरा कोई नहीं, मैं कहीं नहीं जाएगी, मैं कुठे जाणार नहीं. Then I called the principal of the school to make her counsel her. She refused to listen. Then I called the sarpanch of the village to counsel her. She still refused to listen. Jo husband refused to listen. Everybody. Finally, I took consent, witness सब करके I conducted the delivery. बच्चा निकला, ठीक ठाक निकला, सब अच्छा हो गया. So then whenever I used to go to her village, she used to give me something from the farm. कभी ककड़ी निकलता, कभी संतरा निकलता, something used to listen. But they were wonderful days. We learned so much, and you learned the beauty of all these national health programs. So many good programs. I mean, you could monitor the entire vaccination program as immunization program of the government of India just knowing the birth date of somebody. So every month we'll have meetings with these Anganwadi workers, Asha workers and all, and they will just give us birth details.
Okay.
And you segregate. These are people who are living here or people who come from outside. Come from outside, they're going back over there. But people who live over here, so uska 0 dose ho gaya kya? 0 dose polio diya kya? BCG diya kya? So same this thing. 1 month later you look. Last month there were 39 deliveries. So 39 1 month ka OPV diya nahi diya. Then 3 months later you follow that whole chain up. And if it's 38, why 38? If it's 42, why 42? It's brilliant programs. Even malaria control, that guppy, this thing works, huh? It really works.
Guppy fish.
Oh yes, they work. We've done that. We used to do all these programs. Even we used to do those TL things here. Arey, camp hota tha, mela lagta tha. At one camp, 150, 125 TLs. So each one of us medical, and all this 5, 6 of us, we'll all reach there. And we used to, so each one, so there's a main laparoscopic surgeon, he'll come. So one of us is at the anesthetist table, making that entire cocktail. So जो भी that anesthetic मेरे को ये चाहिए, so we are making all those syringes. One of us is giving the butterfly cannula and making the whole thing ready. The other person's already scrubbed and made the incision. Then the surgeon comes in and makes the thing. Fourth person's taking the stitch, closing.
हो गया.
Khatam. Within, by the time the surgeon's gone over there to the next table, 2 tables running parallelly. We start at 7:30, 8 in the morning. By 2 o'clock, we've done 150 TLs. It's brilliant. Brilliant. I don't think those ladies even got the effect of the anesthesia, because by the time that thing is going inside, यहाँ पे cut भी लग गया, खत्म भी कर दिया. Poor ladies, but it was what it was. And then next day, discharge. So there was so many things we learned. And the government used to, I mean, this was crazy. This was us being kids, being kids in those days. Government used to conduct all these programs for training. Now we fresh off the block. तुम मुझे अनीमिया सिखाओगे, उसमें फेरस सल्फेट देना है, तुम लेप्रोसी सिखाना, उसमें हमको सब मालूम है. And they used to teach us in Marathi. ठीक है, I used to understand, but there were a lot of us friends who couldn't understand. There used to be a pre-test, post-test. So pre-test, purposely we used to get full marks, and post-test we used to purposely write all the wrong answers. Useless training. It was just being kids at that time, I guess. I mean, we were too young. We were like, and these permanent guys used to come and ask us, "इतना क्यों कर रहे हो?" And we used to be like, "नहीं, जितना पगार मिल रहा है हम कर रहे हैं." And the pay was good. We used to get around 40,000-45,000, no expenditure. We never used to come home. Maybe once every 4 months or so, for 4-5 days, we used to come home and go back. So वो भी ट्रेन से था, सेवाग्राम या विदर्भ एक्सप्रेस, कुछ 600 रुपया टिकट होता था, जाए. यहाँ पे कोई खर्चा नहीं है. थोड़ा टाइम डब्बा लगाया था, but that dabba was, you never could get used to it. So we started cooking by ourselves, and I hope my wife never hears this or sees this, because she doesn't know I know how to cook.
I'll send it right away.
It's one of my most well kept secrets. But you learned how to cook there, and the best part was you had these weekly bazaars. Okay, तो मोपा में हर बुधवार को बाजार लगता था, हम बाजार जाते थे. अब एक आदमी कितना सब्जी खाएगा, कितना ये करेगा, तो टमाटर मांगे तो यू नीड पाव किलो टमाटर. टमाटर का रेट क्या है? 1 रुपये किलो. तो फ्री में टमाटर आ गया. तो एंड दे हैड सो मच ऑफ लव. डॉक्टर साहब कडून काय घ्यायचं, दे शुड जस्ट गिव. दे शुड जस्ट गिव. It was, it touched you because they took care of you, and
You never felt away from home.
yeah. My co-mo, the family was half the time the kids used to be in my place only. So at that time we had that. I think it was that movie Dil To Pagal Hai at that point of time. So I was Rahul.
Okay.
And there was this Anjali. And Tina. So one of the girls was, there are 2 daughters. So one of the girls was Anjali and one was Tina. And then we used to call, I mean, I'm a dog. These kids, but they used to play. The first time I tried to make a chapati. So I am making over here, the door is open and these kids come running inside. And they laugh and they run. मम्मी देखो इधर क्या हो रहा है करके, राव दादा क्या करते हैं. And she starts catching her hand, stomach and laughing. And then she ends up teaching me how to make a this thing. ऐसा करने का, वैसा करने का, ये करने का, वो करने का. And then you learn. And then whenever they had something in the house, they used to call me over. They are going to Nagpur to their relatives' house. They used to take me. I'm still in touch with them. So, you know.
They're like family now.
Oh yes, they are. So मेरे शादी में वो लोग को बुलाया गया, वो आए थे, that kind of this thing. Of course, the kids have grown up now. Everybody's got older. But you never forget those. Same way there was one chemist guy, Makbul, and still in touch with him. So his family took care of me. So I wanted to do cooking, so all the utensils came from his house, and then Makbul and I went shopping. 5 kilo गेहूं, 5 kilo चावल. Till the end of it, वो 5 किलो गेहूं चावल खत्म नहीं हुआ. फिर वही भाभी को देके आ गए. फिर इतना कौन खरीदा? बोला अभी he is bachelor, I am bachelor.
Must be fun times, yeah.
Oh yeah, they were fun. They were real fun times. You learned, you grew, you took responsibility, you earned. And that kind of, that earning took you through your postgraduate. He paid for the entire day. I was self-sufficient. I never took a dime from parents. You earned. It was good money at that time. 45,000.
Yeah.
No this thing. So for a year when you did, you had 5 lakhs and you went back home. 5 lakhs took care of you for 3 years. No questions asked. You bought a bike. So you were independent. You paid for your petrol. You paid for your college fees. Everything paid for.
That makes you more confident.
Oh yes. So it was good fun. That was learning.
So you did your post graduation from
Grant Medical College, JJ.
Oh.
Again, that time again there were no entrance exams for PGs, so that's how we could really do an internship well. Okay, you chose, you were either a medicine student or a surgery student or OBGY student. So when you were doing your third year, final year, and in those days it was very simple: 1.5 years first year, 1.5 years second year, 1.5 years third year.
Achha.
Simple, and 1 year internship. It was the best it could be. But we had 4 papers of medicine, 4 papers of surgery, 2 papers of OBGY, and 2 papers of PSM, 1 paper of ENT, 1 paper of Ophthal. All that jing bang pura hota tha. Final year was traumatic. But it was very simple, and you decided. So for example, I was a medicine student. So you do extremely well in medicine, and your merit is based on your medicine marks.
Okay.
So you want to do any medicine and allied, so dermat, psychiatry, pediatrics, medicine, all of these. तो आपका मेडिसिन मार्क्स काउंट होता है. आपको सर्जरी अलाइड करना है, सर्जरी, एनेस्थीसिया, रेडियोलॉजी, ईएनटी, ऑफ्थैल, ऑर्थो, सो आप सर्जरी का मार्क्स देखेंगे. गायनेक करना है तो गायनेक का मार्क्स. सो इट वाज वेरी सॉर्टेड. So again, I don't know, bad luck, good luck, missed medicine by 1 mark. I was getting chest, but didn't have the heart to do chest, didn't feel like. And then I ended up talking to some of the clinicians in the house, and again, parents had a hospital. So in that hospital also, the doctors, so meko ye karna hai, wo karna hai, that was all part of this thing. And they said, why are you doing medicine? It's quite crazy, it's quite this. They gave me a lot of point of view. And I was still tech savvy. I had interest in tech. I was one of the first people who had a computer and all of those things. Could dismantle and RAM nikalo, ROM karo. वो सब उस time पे भी करता था. I said, then pathology works for you because a lot of tech in pathology and this thing. Yeah, so we were talking about getting into post graduation, right? How I chose pathology, and I spoke to a lot of them. The tech and the medicine that kind of integrated into, and you took pathology. So I was first on the merit list because I was one of the distinction holders in pathology, good marks, and so in the merit list I was first.
Oh.
I could choose any seat in Mumbai. So I could have got into Tata, I could have got into KM, I could have got into Sion, I could have got into Nair. Any college, it was wide open. And at that point of time I was very focused. I said, what am I going to do post medicine? Hospital है, डैडी मम्मी का, उधर जाना है, प्राइवेट प्रैक्टिस करना है, अपना लैब रहेगा, अपना लैब चलाना है. So when you're so focused that you want to do private practice, then there's no point in my mind, okay? And again, very practical. Tata would have just taken me on the pathway to onco pathology. Private practice में onco कितना है? Nothing much. So Tata was kind of out. KM में you had to live with books. No chance. That's not going to happen in my life. I could never.
It's too academic oriented.
Yeah, too academic. And Sion mein you would never get a moment to sleep because there's just so much work. Sion was like, at that point, like, see, JJ didn't have, DY didn't have a hospital at that point in time. So Sion was the first big hospital from Goa and Pune. So everything on the way from Goa to Pune used to drain into Sion Hospital, and all the periphery of Mumbai also. So Rajawadi, Ghatkopar, Chembur, Devnar, all of those areas used to drain into Sion. So Sion was crazy heavy. So no, pathology le raha hu bhai. I don't want to slog. Nair never had any character. But JJ at that time also a lot of character. Everybody was very bindas kind of, yeah, JJ kind. And I had friends who were already in JJ, so I've been exposed to that. I used to attend festivals there, stay in the hostel over there and all that. So JJ was always close.
Yeah.
And so I took admission into, and karna kya, private hi karna hai. And the other big thing was, JJ had very good hostels. And JJ was one of the few places where first 6 months you're sharing a room with someone. After that, for the next 2.5 years, you have your own room with
Single
attached
options.
toilet. It was like a huge plus. So that's how I ended up choosing JJ. And always that focus was private karna hai, private. So I used to be with the technicians, learning hemoglobin kaisa karna hai, how do you operate this, how do you do this, and running a lot of machines, learning all of that. And people used to say, "Arey, this is once in a lifetime case. Ho gaya na, it's come. Now it won't come again." So not interested kind of. So I was very practical in that. This thing that I'm always going to do my private practice on that. Again, we had very good teachers. My own, I did most of my PG ship under Dr. Shubhangi Agle. Again, we used to monitor, in a way manipulate the whole this thing such that I used to get posted under her. So she was such a brilliant teacher, brilliant. And I remember I used to do it, and we were two of us in the same this thing. So we were posted in periphery in GT, and she used to say, and one day off, one day on. So if I'm on call, so I will see all the slides, and then my partner will take all the diagnosis from me, and he would write his own this thing. Because छोड़ना है कौन दो बार slide दे, तू भी slide दे, so that way. It was all very well till the day that my partner saw something wrong, and then I obviously wrote the same thing, and she was like, Rajiv, at least have the courage to make your own mistakes. And that hit. What she's saying is right. At least make your own mistakes. Why copy others' mistakes? From that day onwards, you saw every slide. You were honest, you were dedicated, you saw every slide, and you learned so much from her. And she took care of me. She was, and she still is, that she believes in natural diets and all that and everything. So I used to get one glass of some juice, methi, carrot, kakdi, I don't know what all. No sugar, no nothing. So you kind of held your nose and drank it. But the love was there. She was giving it. There was no need for her to do it. And still, she's so practical, so down to earth, so nice. And she's been one of biggest influence in my life. All my teachers, Hastak madam, everybody's been some way or the other. My own guide, Dr. Lanjevar, still in touch with me, still meet him, still discussing. And that man was again, he had asthma, allergic to formalin, and used to stand in formalin. Double mask dalega, and twice in the ICU with status asthmaticus because of formalin. And he is one of the foremost academicians or experts on autopsy, and especially autopsy in HIV. He's the first person in India to have done an autopsy on an HIV patient. So he was so dedicated to his art and craft. I mean, with him, I have had lunch in the autopsy room. So dedicated man. Brilliant.
They're in love with their work.
They are passionate about it. Even today, day for yesterday I met him. He said, Rajiv bhai, तेरा thesis था, उसमें एक अपना lymphoma का केस था, lymphoma in liver. उसका स्लाइड वगैरह कुछ है तेरे पास, नेगेटिव्स है, फोटो है, क्या है?
तब भी कहा
यार 2003 की बात है ये, and he is asking me after 20 years. I said, sir, ढूंढता हूँ. So they have that, they're still there, they're still so much in love with that design, and that carries on to you. We had to work like technicians for our thesis. For the first, I did 550 cases. The first 50 cases, I had to do everything for that case. No technician was allowed to help me. Whether it was cutting the liver, whether it was preparing the specimen, whether it was making the slide, staining the slide, everything had to be done by me. At the end of that 50, he would take a feedback. किया ना उसने, come from the technician. And then ठीक है, बाकी आप कर लो. So you learn all that. And very practical. So I still remember once there was one appendix in which there was some eggs in the lumen.
Okay.
And it was not dispatched for 1 week because we couldn't identify what eggs they were. And that man was on a break. He came back and he said, "ये क्यों pending है?" He said this. अरे गधो, specimen लाओ. Specimen लाया. He just took out some fecal matter from the appendix, put it on a slide, put normal saline, and did a stool routine. And there it was, ascaris lumbricoides. There it was, in a moment. So practical. So practical. And then looking at it, suddenly he's telling me, "Raju bhai, that egg is moving." I said, "Sir, you're hallucinating." And then he showed me, "No, you see." And then I'm seeing. And yes, it was moving. It was becoming a larva.
Oh my God.
And then we conducted a study that in formalin, that...
How can it be alive?
Yes, and we published that.
Oh.
We actually did a study. We actually did a whole thing, whether we are using dilute formalin, 10% hai, nahi hai, and kept on repeat testing, studying and all that. And finally we wrote a paper where we said that parasites do not die in formalin. So what comes out from this thing, it's amazing.
Like the egg survive or the larva also
So the
survives?
larva, so it was hatching, right? The egg was hatching.
So the larva survives?
So yes, so as long as it was in formalin, it was okay. When it was put under the microscope, the light heat from that thing was activating that egg and converting it into a larva.
Oh.
Oh, absolute. Oh.
Couldn't imagine something like this.
So you learned all those things on the floor with them. And then 3 years later, somehow or the other, you passed. And you passed, and then you're on the way home. And you're very proud that, you know, you become a pathologist, you've done an MD. In those days, again, Bombay University, 5 colleges students are giving the exam together. So we had a cohort of 28 students from JJ, Nair, KM, Tata and Sion. All of them giving exam at one place. And 5 days exam. Our exam was for 5 days.
The final exam.
Final practical exam was 5 days. Even theory, it was 3 questions, 300 marks. 4 papers. You don't know, you can't answer one question, you fail. It was that bad. Anyway, chalo, kar diya kaisa bhi. Whatever street smartness you had to show, you showed, and you passed the exam, and now you're going home. On the way, on the highway, you see the college building. तो चलो जाके बोल देते आपका बच्चा पास हो गया. So LP पे उतर गया and went into college. That time Dean was Chauhan sir.
Okay.
No longer with us, but again, gem of a person, brilliant human being. And again, you never realize what you see in the students, you know. And आगे जाके मुझे मेरा लैब चलाना है. So sorted in life. I'm only going to go and do private practice. And I've just gone into this thing. मिठाई दे रहे. डीन सर को मैंने, चौहान सर आपका बच्चा पैथोलॉजिस्ट हो गया. अरे वाह वाह वाह, मीठा खाए, ये खाए, वो खाए. अभी क्या करेगा? I said, sir, lab चालू करूँगा ये. वो तो ठीक है. Why don't you join us? I said, sir, teaching not for me. I am private practice करना है. Okay, no problem. You do. Who's stopping you from setting your own lab or anything? But you join us. नहीं सर ये करना. अरे तू कर ना, मना थोड़ा ना कर रहा हूँ, लेकिन तू ज्वाइन हो जा. सर शादी वादी भी करना है, छुट्टी नहीं मिलेगा. अरे छुट्टी दे दूंगा, तू ज्वाइन कर. And he did not leave me from the room till I agreed to join DY Patil Medical College, Department of Pathology.
As a lecturer.
As a lecturer. At a princely, my appointment order gave me a princely sum of 8,000 rupees. 8,000 rupees I started my career in DY Patil. So the glamour of the family physician is lost.
Sir, do you think doctors should be entrepreneur?
We were students. हम शायद गाली देते थे हमारे टीचर्स को.
Do you still remember the day when you became the dean?
Yes.